Star Wars producer Howard Kazanjian decimated Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams, and Lucasfilm's sequel trilogy, saying they didn't understand the story. Let's get into this here. Star Wars producer Howard Kazanjian completely decimated the Walt Disney Company's handling of the sequel trilogy, noting that the filmmakers behind The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi didn't understand the story. If you're unfamiliar with Kazanjian, he produced The Empire Strikes Back, The Return of the Jedi, Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Rookie, Demolition Man, and more. In the late J.W. Rinsler's Howard Kazanjian, A Producer's Life book, Kazanjian says, generally speaking, I think that the filmmakers on The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi didn't understand the story. They didn't understand what a Jedi Knight was all about. That's the simplest way to put it. Skywalker's the story, and I think that's what they failed at. I'm not talking about just Mark Hamill as Skywalker. It's the overall psychological story of Skywalker and, of course, the Jedi Knights. The ardent fans know more about the storyline than the filmmakers. You can see it here from Script Trooper. I also confirmed it via a Google Books link, which you can find right there. It's linked in the article. Kazanjian is not alone in his opinion. Let's talk about Kazanjian's opinion, right? He's saying here that they don't understand that Luke Skywalker is the story, and I think that is absolutely 100% true when you're dealing with the main trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and then obviously going into the sequel trilogy. And if they did understand it, they wouldn't have done what they did to Luke Skywalker unless they were doing it for some kind of demoralization campaign, which I have posited on here a number of times. But if you want to be charitable and say that they weren't actually trying to demoralize people by destroying their heroes, they clearly didn't understand what Luke Skywalker was. He never would have tried to attempt to murder his nephew. He would not have run away and gone off onto an island into exile. He would not have cut himself off from the Force. That is not who he was. He was the guy who left Obi-Wan and Yoda to go save his friends, knowing that it was a trap and that it was a risk. And he knew that it was their lives, trying to save them was worth more than maybe putting it off and training to become a Jedi and seeing them die. He made that choice. Obi-Wan and Yoda thought that was the wrong choice, and he wasn't prepared. They would be right that he wasn't prepared. Whether or not that was the wrong choice, I think that Luke was actually right in that. And because, again, he would also, again, defy Obi-Wan, at least Obi-Wan for sure, when Obi-Wan was said he'd have to basically kill his father in Darth Vader. Luke goes there and confronts him knowing that he is not trying, like his whole intention is he's not going to confront his father in an armed conflict and try to kill him. He wants to redeem him. He wants to try and turn him back to the light side. He tries to do that through reason, through communication, but what ends up happening is Luke does kind of get tempted heavily by the dark side. He eventually finds himself in combat with Vader, with his father. He chops his arm off. He's about to kill him. He's about to take Vader's place at the Emperor's side. He's nearly there. He's very close to doing so, but he realizes what he's doing. He realizes that he's falling into temptation. He realizes that he's letting his anger and hate consume him. His fear of losing his sister to the dark side, to becoming corrupted. That's what he was afraid of, and he was letting that consume him. And he realizes that he chooses not to. He throws his lightsaber down. He refuses to fight anymore. He's not going to give in to the dark side, even if it costs him his life. That sacrifice, that choice to become a martyr, converts his father back to the Jedi Order, converts his father back to the light side. He makes the choice to kill the Emperor, slay the devil, throw him down the shaft, and then he seeks forgiveness from Luke Skywalker. That is what the story was. That's who Luke Skywalker was. And after making that choice there, he would continue to make that choice. That's not to say he wouldn't have potentially other temptations or things like that, but he wouldn't be trying to attempt to murder his nephew in his sleep. That is not who Luke Skywalker is, and Luke Skywalker isn't going to just exile himself from the world. He's the guy who's going out there into the world, shown it on a number of occasions, saw it in Empire Strikes Back, saw it in Return of the Jedi, also saw it in A New Hope. So Howard Kazanjian, right on the money. They had absolutely no idea what they're doing with Star Wars, and they still don't if you've watched anything recently from them. But Kazanjian is not alone in his opinion. Marsha Lucas, George Lucas's ex-wife, and one of the editors on A New Hope shared a similar opinion. She said, I like Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy. I always liked her. She was full of beans. She was really smart and really bright, really wonderful woman, and I liked her husband, Frank Marshall. I liked him a lot. However, she then noted, now that she's running Lucasfilm and making movies, it seems to me that Kathy Kennedy and J.J. Abrams don't have a clue about Star Wars. They don't get it, and J.J. Abrams is writing these stories. When I saw that movie where they kill Han Solo, I was furious. I was furious when they killed Han Solo. Absolutely, positively, there was no rhyme or reason to it. She continued saying, I thought, you don't get the Jedi story. You don't get the magic of Star Wars. You're getting rid of Han Solo. And then at the end of this last one, The Last Jedi, they have Luke disintegrate. They killed Han Solo. They killed Luke Skywalker. And they don't have Princess Leia anymore. And they're spitting out movies every year. And they think it's important to appeal to a women's audience. So now their main character is this female who's supposed to have Jedi powers. But we don't know how she got Jedi powers or who she is. It sucks. The storylines are terrible, just terrible, awful. She then added, you can quote me, J.J. Abrams, Kathy Kennedy, talk to me. So it's not just Howard Kazanjian. We got Marsha Lucas here. These are people that were involved in the creation, heavily in the creation of the original Star Wars trilogy with George Lucas, and they are clearly calling out what Disney has done to Star Wars. In fact, if you want to go to what George Lucas has said back in 2020, he said, I kind of lost control of Star Wars, so it's going off in a different path than what I intended, but the first 6 are very much mine and my philosophy. No mention of any of the TV shows, because The Mandalorian had come out at this time. No mention of the television shows whatsoever. Clearly disowning the sequel trilogy there. Just the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy are his and his alone. But it's glad Howard Kazanjian and Marsha Lucas are speaking up against this. Hopefully, more people will come to see how absolutely detrimental Disney has been to Star Wars, and that they do not understand fundamentally what Star Wars is or how it works and why it is indeed popular. And that's why we continue to see the ratings decline. People jump ship, and Disney Plus, Star Wars, and Marvel specifically Star Wars shows are deteriorating very quickly and very rapidly.
Subscribe for more.